Good evening, Central Indiana. Welcome to Porch Time Live from Casey's Cause Studio. I know football season just started, and we had Coach Duggar and those yahoos and at midnight on a Monday, and I don't know whose theory that was, but we love it. But we're going to talk basketball tonight with this gentleman right over here, new head basketball coach, Mr. Williams. And we got the AD in here, Mr. Kip Staggs. How you gentlemen doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Glad to have you guys in here. Real quick, let me talk about my sponsors, and we're going to get right into it because I think this is a very important night to introduce the new coach to the community and start getting the word out that Martinsville basketball is on its way back, and we got some work to do. So hang on real quick. American Basement Solutions, Mr. Larry Ralph, Senior, 1-877-409-2837. Key Realty with Teresa Messmer, 765-341-8911. Livewire, Tommy Walls Electric Consulting and Alarm Systems, 765-792-4012. There's things that I'm just not doing right tonight, boys. I'll tell you what. Wellspring, that's Jennifer Burnham and her group, 765-342-6661. Stids Comfort System, get a hold of Caleb Stidd at 765-346-0195. K2 Fitness, open 24 hours and locally owned. The Yard Barber with Andrew Payton. Wayman's Furniture, Appliance, and Mattress. And last but not least, Mike's Automotive, Mikey Swango, 765-342-2282. Once again, thank you to Kevin and Tanya for allowing us to be involved with their son's foundation. Casey's Cause Studio, we enjoy being with them and being part of their program. All right, gentlemen. Indiana will always be a basketball state, in my opinion. I love Notre Dame football. I love IU football. Thought it was magnificent last year that we got to the playoffs. Coach Duggar's got the program turned around. So we needed a spark. We needed some of that youth, Kip. And you went out and got Mr. Williams here. Oh, he's got two last names, and it's throwing me off. So Jackson Williams. How you doing, sir?
I'm good.
First of all, welcome to Martinsville and Martinsville Artesian Athletics. That man right there has done a ton for this community. But not only him and his bloodline, his dad was perhaps one of the greatest announcers in Indiana football, basketball. Hell, I think he announced track. He did everything.
He did golf, too.
Yeah. He was there before I became a high school student and after I left, and there was no one better to call a game to make you feel like you're a part of it. So his family, you're sitting with royalty here right now. So
I don't know about that, but I can still hear my dad say, "And here come the Artesians."
Somewhere that's on tape. I know it. I would love to hear that again.
Yes, sir.
Maybe even as the start of the football games. That would be phenomenal. But happy to have you in the community. I was looking over your record today. Dean Roberson, who's on right now, he sent it to me. Done a lot of good things to get here, and I think we're lucky to have you.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, it's been a fun ride, kind of going through the different levels of coaching in Indiana. You know, and so my staff and I, we were just thrilled to finally get here to Martinsville and be here at such a tradition-rich school. You know,
right? A lot of tradition in this area, and like I said, football teams turned it around. The facilities are amazing. Soccer, baseball, football, basketball, the gymnasiums, the add-ons, all that. You're not going to please everyone, but we're on par with everybody, I think, right now. I remember 3 years ago going to Franklin's complex, and we were up there on the press box, and we just looked around, and we were like, holy cow, maybe 4 years ago. What a magnificent place that is. And now we're compared to them with what we got. And we were just on the field the other night. It was in the gymnasium a couple weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. It just looks great. Everything looks great, and you got a lot of good to work with. And that's hats off to you, Kip.
Well, there's been a lot of people behind the scenes making that happen, and we've had a vision, and within the last 5 to 6 years, we've been able to do some things without increasing taxes to make it happen, and using some bonds that came available. And so, we've had some people in the right places to make some of these things happen, and just the turf project itself was a was a 1.5 year process, if not 2 years. And then the field house, when it was built, it was 2.5 years, and we started building it during COVID.
Right.
So, all those things have come together really well, and we've been able to brand things, bring attention to Martinsville in a very positive light. To me, these are investments in our community, investments with our students and student athletes. And so this is just not a short-term thing. If you look at the turf and you look at the field house, those things are going to be around for 15 to 20 years. And, just like the video scoreboard we have in the gymnasium now, as well as on the football field, and the attention that's given to us. And
now, I've not seen that. Got one in there too now.
so we did that back in November, December, and so we were able to put that together, and we were able to utilize that to the second half of the basketball season. And so that's been a great addition to what we did. And then we even used it during graduation. During graduation, when people walked across the stage, or prior to that, we scrolled all the graduates on there and had a welcome, social post on there. So it's been a really, really good thing for us, and it's been a positive spin for our community, and puts us in a good light. And like I said, this is not an investment for just this week or tomorrow. It's for a long time down the road.
Now, when we was kids, we'd have never dreamt of anything like that at the school we was going to.
We didn't know we had turf. Turf was
We had leather helmets.
yes. You got to think of time frame here.
But the scoreboards and the flashing lights and everything like that, I guess it's cutting edge and kind of recent times, for high school.
So I had a couple people last year to make note that our football atmosphere is as good as any high school around, and probably better than some colleges.
Yeah.
From that standpoint, and when John R. Wooden Gymnasium's rocking, that's a great place to play and a great place to coach. Our fans are so important to our successes, and I think with Coach Williams here and his vision and what he's doing, and working with the middle school kids this summer, and some of the things he's doing to build culture, and I think we're on the right track, and just really fortunate to have him on board with us. He's a great addition to our team of coaches.
So you've had a chance to start working in the community at the younger ages and everything?
Oh, yeah. We had a great summer. High school kids were in the gym, saw our numbers grow. Middle school kids were there. They had a great turnout in June and July. We were able to kind of work with our 6th grade all the way through our 12th grade. Basketball camp was fantastic. We were 2nd through 8th grade in that one. So we really had a lot of kids in the gym this summer, a lot of turnout, and a lot of positives to kind of build on into the basketball season at all levels in our program.
Now, I'll ask this now, and we've asked this of all the coaches and people that come in here. The kids haven't changed, the parents haven't changed, but something's changed over time. I don't think anybody can put a direct finger on it, but do you see that turning around anytime soon, where basketball and football are going to be your main focal point? I know you got so many options now. You got soccer and things like that. It seems like a lot of kids lost interest in athletics altogether, and that the numbers across it. Well, your winning programs like Center Grove and things like that, they kept them. But the smaller schools struggle, it seems like. And we want to, I want to help turn that around. If there's things we could do and stay on here.
No doubt. I think part of that issue is just numbers in general. If you look at our district, and our numbers are down as a whole. You look at our school.
School-wise.
You look at our high school not long ago, we had 1,700 students in the building. And, now we're looking at 1,200 to 1,300. So, you're taking 150 to maybe 200 boys out of that equation. You're doing the same on the girls' side. Because of the changes in our community and school community and numbers, it's had a little bit of an impact on our teams.
Right.
And, our coaches work really hard to try to develop those relationships, try to continue to recruit. And they're getting pulled in so many different ways from time to time. But I think the overall factor is just the decrease in the number of students we've had in our buildings.
I can tell you this, not very often do I hear basketball this time of year. And Dean wasn't the first, he wasn't the second, he wasn't the third. I've heard from 4 or 5 people say, hey, you got to get the new coach on. These kids love him. And they talked about some of the things that they were doing with you guys. And that's that's, you've been to small town Indiana. That's big, because word travels fast at every coffee stop and thing along the way. You get the kids involved and get the community involved, and like Kip said, that place will be rocking on Fridays and Saturdays nights, and that's what we want. We want the community to back the football team and the basketball teams and other events going on in the school. And you're bullseye right now. So
I appreciate it.
We know you got a good track record. You won a regional title.
Yes, sir.
And it's been a while since we've. Speaking of young coaches that I don't like, right there. That is another excellent coach doing wonders for our community. He's been on several times, and Willie's we go back and forth, but I hope he don't hear this. But excellent coach, excellent human being, and like you already have started, and Coach Duggar does. He gets the kids to believe in their team, and he brings them together. You guys know that.
Well, one thing about Willie, and I don't want him to blow his head up here too much, but
it's already large.
But I think I've called him a kid magnet for some time.
Yeah.
The kids attract to him, and they make he makes them work, but they enjoy it, and we see that in Jackson. A kid magnet. And I'll say this: like when we went through the interview process, we had 30 or so applicants for the position, and it's always tough to go through it and sort it through, and sometimes you get down to the last one or two candidates, and there's a very fine line of who you select and who you don't, and you got to make those tough phone calls to the ones that don't make it, and then you make those real fun calls to the guys that do make it, and so to Jackson's credit, within the first 10 to 15 minutes, I was like, this is our guy.
Yeah.
Because of just the conversation we had about culture and relationships, and we didn't talk X's and O's. That's going to come of if you're around basketball enough, and you play it and you coach it and you're at different levels, and you study it, like he has, then you're going to have that. So what's the intangibles? Like what's the other things that you've got to have to build a program and have success? And and those things really stood out to us in the interview process when we hired Jackson.
Since we hit that point, Coach, could you tell us a little bit about your path here and a little bit what got you to Martinsville prior to that phone call?
Yeah. Well, to just kind of start out, I went to college. I was a better golfer than I was a basketball player.
That's
we always,
saying a lot.
Hey, my high school buddies and I joke around. I was there for Trace Jackson Davis, help him, get beat up on in practice, and we can go through sets and stuff. But Trace was awesome. But yeah, my teammates, they joked with me about that. So I ended up going and playing college golf, and then my high school coach called me, asked me if I wanted to coach. Said that it'd be a good way to fill time there in the winter time, because golf's fall and spring. And so he said, just come coach for me in the winter, see how you like it. So I started with him. I was at Center Grove for 2 years. I had been an assistant at GCA when they won a sectional. We had some fun times there all through college. It was a great way to go through school. I was busy all the time.
So you were coaching while you were in college?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, magnificent.
Yeah. My dad, he was a high school coach, and he coached in college. And so he was kind of big on, getting in young while I've got the opportunity. And it was close to home in a community I was familiar with. So it was just a great setup. And Coach Hahn at Center Grove, he was big on helping me just kind of get in and get going, working with my schedule. And so it was really fun. And then after college, ended up going to Shelbyville. And so I coached at Shelbyville. I was the JV coach there and varsity assistant. And it was just fun to see small town basketball.
Yeah.
And now that was COVID. So, it was the year right after COVID. So it was the first time that we had actually, it was really one of the only places letting fans in our area at the moment. And so we had, gyms were packed whenever we were allowing fans, because it was some of those green zones, yellow zones, red zones, and it'd go back to green. And so it was just really cool. It was an awesome atmosphere to see. I got to see some different schools, got to travel to some different places, see some different styles of ball. It was really fun. And then right after that year, I got a phone call from Greenwood Christian. I'd been offered that job. And so, my dad started the program there, brought him into the IHSAA. It was close to home. We knew a lot of people kind of around the program, not necessarily in it at that point. But when I had been there previously, I knew that there were some kids and families that were just really good kids, going to work hard, good families. And so I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And then we kind of built our staff just kind of out of nowhere. And it was really fun. And I was there for 4 years. We had, 4 really good years. And, like you said, we were down here in the regional, and that was kind of my first. I'd played against Martinsville. I'd been down here a little bit. My dad being a big basketball guy, like we certainly knew about Martinsville basketball.
Sure.
But being down here in the regional, kind of getting to, really meet Coach Staggs, getting to talk to some of the other people here, seeing just, the gym and the facilities, I knew that this was a place that was really special. And so, we were down here and then ended up going to Washington for the semi-state. But then after that, I saw the job came open. I was down here interviewing with Coach and the committee. And, like Coach said, just the facilities alone. Like, I loved the conversations I had. I loved coming in and just being able to talk culture with everybody and what we're trying to build. But then, they took you out and showed you around, and it was just amazing that you have everything you need to compete at the highest level in the best state in the country for high school basketball.
100%.
And so it was, right there, my staff and I, once I kind of brought some of the coaches down and they saw everything, I think we met later that night, and everybody said that this was a job that they thought that was a really good job. I thought the same thing. And we were all just super excited to accept it and just couldn't wait to get down here.
I think the term lightning in a bottle is about to happen in this part of the world, because as big as IU fan is, and much as I love watching Mike Woodson, I'm saying my age here, grow up and play, it was time for him to go. And I think Coach D, they got down there now, I think when IU's doing well in this part of the country, IU basketball blows up. That's why you had hoops at every stop along the way. Northern half of the state, that other team up there doing well right now, we don't want to talk about them. But the southern half of the state is about to catch up with them in the next year or two, I think. And that only helps us, because kids want to go out there and dribble that rock and shoot jumpers and do stuff like that. And then that's going to get... I started out with bitty ball. That long ago. Little Arties now. And... that's been thriving forever.
54 years is what we're entering this year.
Yeah.
But one thing you said I think was interesting. You talk about the popularity of IU basketball and how it affects other things, but you think about the effect that the Indianapolis Colts have had on Indiana high school football.
100%.
And because of the Peyton Mannings and the Irsay vision and the growth of football in downtown Indianapolis, it's also had a huge impact on high school football across the state. And so I think maybe they're not on the same level, but I do think there's some parallels between the two.
Oh, I agree.
Because IU basketball will generate some excitement, and people get excited. Kids get excited. Get a new pair of shoes, you got to show them off, right?
Oh yeah.
And you have some success, or you see somebody have success, you want to be a part of that as well.
100%. And I think they're going to turn the corner over the next couple of years. It's going to take him some time, but I think the guy's a good coach. He's a young guy like you, energetic, and he's going to go in there and turn it around, and you're going to see these hoops popping back up over here.
He's going to sweat more on the bench than you've seen in the last 4 years, in his first game than you've seen in the last 4 years.
Is he a sweater?
He's going to get after it.
Mr. Pearl, like
he's going to get after it.
Yes. Yeah. I like that, though, because that's what we grew up with around here, someone that knew the game, knew how to take young men and turn them into young adults the right way.
And you're exactly right. And one thing, Coach Williams, he's made some strides with our players.
There's Luke. What's up?
He's made some strides with our players this summer. And I remember walking out in the gym at one point during the summer after one of their workouts, and the bench is pulled out a little bit, and I look down there and it's 20, 30 minutes after the workout, and he's down there having a conversation with 3 or 4 of the guys, and they're just hanging out, and they're getting to know each other. And matter of fact, I went back in the office, and I got Erica Gregory, who's our administrative assistant, and I said, "Hey, come here, I want to show you something." And I said, "We're on the right track," and I pointed down to that corner. And so I think Coach Williams, it's going to take him a little time. Let's be honest; he's only been with us since about May 25th, right? So, he's
That's long enough. Let's roll, baby.
He's 60 plus days in, but he's really doing some good things, and the community. Hopefully, they will get behind him and support him, and I'm sure, like every new coach and every new situation, you're going to have some growing pains. You're going to go through some things that aren't perfect all the time, but I think we're in good hands in our basketball program.
I think so. Coach, what was the most impressive thing you saw so far about being down here at the school system and everything?
I really just thought the people were the most impressive part of Martinsville. Yeah. Just the administration, how supportive they're going to be, how supportive they've been of athletics. That's what stuck out to me. And that was the thing with, Mr. Bell and Coach Staggs and, just everybody involved. I thought that it was so impressive. I mean, I couldn't stop talking about it. That I thought that they really supported sports, all sports in general, and really, you could see it in the facilities and the upgrades. Like, they want the best for our student athletes, and honestly, they let us, train our student athletes in the best environments.
Right. Real quick, Luke says Artesia Nation will be strong this year. Coach Mossgrip, and then Coach Willie Spina. The middle school kids were the exact same way. He was making a lot of connections with them during this workout. Super excited. We grew up back in the day when we used to have summer weight program. One of the best things ever. All the coaches from every sport were involved with it, and we would meet over there in June and July at about 7 in the morning and go all day. We couldn't specifically practice like they do kind of now, but we did every sport under the sun: football, basketball, soccer, tennis, wrestling, bombardment. And it kept all these kids, it kept me out of trouble. Just bottom line, it kept a lot of us on the straight and narrow. You had that structure. And I'm glad now that you can go specific. Some practices 7-on-7s, and I don't know what they do for basketball, but I'm sure there's something you guys do.
Yeah, June's typically kind of our big month that we're allowed to travel with the kids and go play. You got league games, you've got tournament games, different college showcases.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
It's really cool.
It's certainly, the game has changed quite a bit over the years. One thing I wanted to ask you both: the state kind of loosened the reins on transfers. Am I correct in saying that?
You're correct. So effective June 1st, student athletes can move from school A to school B if it's their first time transfer, and as long as there's not a past link or undue influence from the receiving school, then they're granted eligibility, and they can still and not move to do that. And there is a 30-day window where they will not be able to participate in contest, but they can practice with the team and do all those other activities. So it's really...
And that's that across the board, all sports?
It's all sports. And I shared with a parent today, and it's really an extension of school choice that started really back with the voucher program with Mitch Daniels and Tony Bennett and that administration, and where the money follows the student. And so the IHSA really received some pressure from the state legislature in recent years, and it was to the point where they just had to make a change. And so that's a general statement in terms of how that transfer works. There's some exceptions to that,
sure, but
we're seeing some movement. We're in and out, but I think everybody across the board is doing the same. I know there was a township school in Indianapolis that on June 1st they had 17 kids move out, but they had 15 move in. So, that's excessive.
That might have been pre-planned.
That was excessive. Yeah, that's excessive. But, we're having 2 or 3 in and out, and
sure,
a little bit to be expected from our standpoint. But we're taking each case by case, and we'll do the best we can to adhere to the rules and the bylaws of the IHSA.
Well, I follow as much high school football as I can, and I know it happens in basketball too. But where I work up in Avon, and small world, when you're as old as I am, people from everywhere. Hey, that kid's from Martinsville. Hey, that kid's from Martinsville. Well, they're playing for the state title in football this weekend, and they live out here at Foxcliff. And I want our programs. Those kids have no choice. We're like, I'm playing for Martinsville, and Coach Duggar's working on it. And I know from what sounds like you're working on it. I know Coach Spina's working on it. It's nice to go somewhere and chase a title if you don't feel like you're wanted where you're at. But what you guys have put in place now, high school football, basketball, and soccer, and I seen oh, I'm going to say her name wrong. She's the girls, Kelsey, girls
Patrick.
volleyball coach. You know, you're just building these young coaches in here, excitement. As you said, they're kid magnets, and that's what we need. And we want these kids to stay in our area. We have unbelievable athletes. Well, even back it up, we win the decathlon for every year. We have intelligent kids. We got strong kids. We got great coaches in this community. It's time to start winning and bringing the kids stay here.
Yeah, I shared this with our parents last night at our open house that, you know, you can look back the last several years and you look at the individuals walk across the stage, and this year specifically, our senior class, number 1 ranked and number 2 ranked students in our senior class right now, they're athletes, multi-sport athletes. If you go back to last year, the class of 25, number 1 and number 2. Barco this year. Yeah, but last year,
phenomenal.
Last year, number 1 and number 2 involved with athletics. You can go back to years before that. You can find number 2, number 4, number 7, number 8, whatever it might be. So it's not uncommon for our student athletes to be some of our best students as well.
Right, and so I think that the potential's there. Young guy like that, I think you're on the right track. I mean, I can't wait. I'm excited. I know the community loves a winner in basketball here, and it's not even wins and losses, is how they play the game and they go after it, and the heart, the passion, and I think the kids will be there in the end when they have someone like you. Coach Duggar is a prime example. Football was floundering a little bit. We haven't been where we needed to be for a while, and some of that had to do with where they had put us in the state. Hey, they can beat anybody. Let's put them at a higher level. Well, no, we can't, because I had to block Jason Whitlock, 6'3", 325, my senior year, and he was the smallest on their defensive front. So we weren't going to win that game in the Final Four, no matter how many times we played them. But finally, I think we're in the right spot now. It's not for lack of heart that we've got the talent, and I think we have the talent to win basketball as well. Just getting that fire going again, and I think you're on the right track here, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, and I appreciate you saying that. You know, for us, it's the culture we've got to build. We've got to establish, our culture, and Coach Staggs alluded to it, earlier. It's going to take some time, and so the kids know that. They've done a great job just coming in and building each day. We've just really stressed the kids. We got to come in each day and get better, and we start to see some of those winning habits. And it's going to change, and so we're excited about it, and saw a lot of positive things with those younger kids, but a lot of positive things with our older kids too.
When's your first practice, Coach? Legal statewide first practice?
It's typically first full week in November.
November 4th.
Okay. Wow.
But I want to ask Coach a question. If
you fire away. You're part of this program. But.
So I probably should have asked him this a while back.
Okay.
But Coach took. They played in a tournament in June, and they went to a movie. So he took them all to a movie and those kind of things. I don't think Coach Hyrowitz are probably taking you to a movie, but
take us to the bowling alley.
Yeah. But so, Coach, what movie did you take them to? What did they take you to? Maybe that's a better question. What was the name of the movie?
Oh man. Well, we originally went to see a movie that they said we weren't all able to get in. So I'm trying to remember what that one was. I don't remember the name of it. We ended up going to see. Oh goodness. It was like a kid's
Lilo and Stitch or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, something like that. And they made sure so they had enough seats. I think we took 11 guys, and then it was me, so we had 12 guys total. And I think they had about 8 together, and then up high they had nice seats, and then 4 down on the front row. So I think they drew straws, and seniority kind of took over. So the older kids were in the back, and I was down front row looking straight up in the air, watching whatever. I think you're right, Lilo and Stitch. But they did bring us food, and so it was a great time.
Like, you need to be in the front row. Like, from here on out, when you're on that bus, you're in the front row.
Oh, right.
So you got to lead the charge here. So, but those are the kind of things, Kevin, that I think are important. 15, 20 years ago, I'm not sure that was even on anybody's radar. But, one of the questions we ask our coaches is, what does it feel to be coached by you? Okay, so whenever we go through an interview, what does it feel to be coached by you, and what would your student athlete say about you? And so there's a why about it, there's a relational piece about it, but Coach is on the right track doing those kind of things. Coach Duggar does those kind of things. Coach Chris Moore on the cross country side of things does
Jared does.
So
Coach Spina does.
Coach Spina does. He'll take him to IU soccer game,
canoe trips, or
those kind of things.
Yeah.
So those are all fun things, and kids remember those types of things. They may not remember the score of the game against Mooresville or Bloomington South or whatever, but they'll remember going to that movie. Mm-hmm. They'll remember that canoe trip, and that's the types of things that we're seeing more and more of, and our coaches are doing more and more of.
And they're not going to go home when you build that bridge and you connect with them like that on that level. They're not going to go home and tell their buddies you'll hate it because practice is hard. If you're going to be worth a damn at anything, it's going to be hard. There's nothing you're going to gain in life that's easy. So there's got to be effort, but they're going to come home and say, yeah, after practice we went to the IU game or cookout or to the theater and watched Lilo and Stitch with Coach. Isn't that crazy? And those kids go, well, maybe I need to take a second look at this. As a football player back in school, I remember we had one kid that was 6'6", 300 pounds walking the hallways, and I asked him I would go right up to him every day, why are you playing football, dude? You're the biggest kid in school. And he just wasn't in him. But I couldn't imagine as a basketball coach, someone's walking around the hallway 6'5", and you're like, dude, what are you doing? That would drive me nuts. But building that foundation, you got little arties, and like Coach Moore was big on that, in football especially. He said, you got to have a great junior program, and I guess Center Grove does at every level. That's why they win titles every year, almost everything.
But they've got 3,300 students in our building,
right?
It makes a big difference. And
that rezoning 30 years ago
kind of helps.
If you want to know the truth.
And we're one of the smallest 4A schools in the state. And so when we get to March and April, the IHSA will reevaluate the enrollment, and so there's a strong possibility that
weren't we close to dropping to 3?
Well, I was. 2 years ago, I thought there was a really good chance, but there was about 5 or 6 schools between us and that cut line. And our enrollment's dropped a little bit since that time, and so I can really see us moving to that 3A for next year, and that would affect boys and girls basketball, baseball, softball, and volleyball.
Right. I'm just excited. I think the youth movement and coaching is big, and it got to get you out in the community like this. Not that we're it for media, but just about anymore. It's all social media anywhere you go. And the word of mouth from the kids, like you said, just like Willie said, he's heard it from the junior kids, and I've heard it from 3 or 4 different adults that have said stuff, and that's big. And I think you guys are doing the right thing. And hats off to you, Kip, and to getting us to this point, because I know it's not been an easy climb. It never is in any aspect, but you got a winner going on over there, and I can't wait to see you guys in action. When's first game?
Pepsi Coliseum.
Really?
Oh yeah, playing Edgewood. So it should be a really fun environment and a great way to kind of kick off the year.
Pepsi Coliseum.
And then they're also going to play in the Wabash Valley tournament, which is around Christmas, just after Christmas, which is a 16-team tournament. It's held at the Terre Haute North and Terre Haute South schools. And there's 4 games in a row. They'll play a Friday, Saturday, and come back play Monday, Tuesday.
Wow.
And the Wabash Valley tournament at one time, if you go back several years, 50s and 60s, that was as big, if not bigger, than the actual state tournament at the time.
Had all the big teams coming
And
in.
there'd be several hundred teams that would participate in that event.
Well, this state is never short of talent. We always, buddy of mine from work, we always count the players in the NCAA Final Four from the state of Indiana. And there's always 6 or 8 kids from somewhere in this state that grew up here playing ball in Indiana. So the talent's out there. And I think we've had some extremely talented kids here come across, and I know they're out there. And I know you guys are going to turn it around and get things going. And we want to support you guys as much as possible, especially during the season. If there's a chance you want to come on air, I know you guys play 2-3 nights a week, it seems like. Anytime you want to come on and talk talk a game, yell, scream. We're not controlled by the FCC here, so you're more than welcome. We want to try to come out and do a couple games like we've done in the past. Maybe get some younger guys like Willie to come out and help us out, because we got Willie, and then another buddy of his helps out on sports shows every now and then. But we would love to do that. Start getting that. See, we got a company now making shirts for us, so I had to go with the 85 here. There you go. And our reunions this year. So we want to get that brand out there. We want to know, look, Martinsville's back not only in football, but basketball, but all the way around. Our community's growing. The interstate's kind of forced that upon us. We're still a small town. There's still a lot of good stuff here. But we're also going to start sprawling and growing. There's no way around it. You either embrace it or fight it, and you're not going to win fighting it. So I think it's time to embrace it all and just move forward with it and see where we go. So happy to have you, Coach.
Well, thanks for having me. And if you guys ever want to come to practice or anything, feel free. You're always welcome.
I'd sweat just watching you, I think.
We'll be moving coaches and players, so we'll be out there going. It'll
what
be fun.
can we expect out of a coach's your team on the floor?
Yeah, I mean, right now the biggest thing I think is that you're going to see a team that's going to really emphasize defense, really emphasize rebounding, and then taking care of that basketball, getting a great shot. Sharing the basketball offensively, that's the most fun basketball to be a part of, when the ball's moving, different guys are, scoring it, and, you can't just key in on one or two guys. But that's the biggest thing. We talk to the kids right away, that our goal, here out of the gate, we're going to establish this culture we want to build, and we want to be one of the most elite teams defensively, really early here at Martinsville. And our kids have really done a great job this summer buying in, coming in, working at it, and getting better each day. And they know we've got work to do, but I think, the more chaos you can cause defensively, get people disrupted, the easier offense is, the more fun it is for guys, and the harder we are to play against.
Well, that's a Coach Knight philosophy for sure. And it also, and I should have mentioned this earlier about catching lightning in a bottle. That's what the Pacers brought. They had 10 guys that you couldn't leave any of them open. Every one of them could guard you. And I'm not a big NBA fan, but I tuned into that run because it brought excitement back. And like you said, that their defensively, they were as good as anybody. And they proved that against the Oklahoma team who no one could stop. And so you bring that kind of energy and excitement to that gym over there. We like a good defense over here to get them rocking and rolling. And I think high school basketball is always going to be big in this state. We've got, four of the top 5 largest gymnasiums in the nation. That's just crazy. So it's
and one thing about Coach here that I'd like to share is that this summer just observing practice and he couldn't guard anybody. He had no intention to guard anybody, but he'd shoot it. But back to Coach here, Coach would really he would really teach. When I walk through the gym, I'd hear him talking to the players about you need to do A, B, C, and he's teaching. They're just not playing. He's teaching the game. He's telling them how to do things the right way and better. And his assistants were doing the same thing. So ground level, grassroots, build it from the bottom up kind of thing. And I have a lot of respect for people that do that. That's the hard way to do it. But he's doing it the right way, and it'll be the best thing in the long term, in the long run, when you do it that type of way.
So come November, it's going to be basketball season. Well, there's still a couple weeks left of football. Hopefully we'll get to, I think, November 19th or right around there, state finals normally. But then we can solely turn our attention to basketball and get on the air with you guys. And certainly, I'd love to come to a practice one day. That'd be intense. Like I said, Coach, a kid magnet, and we need that at all the big sports in the school, and I think you're the guy. And looking forward to that. Dean is Roberson's just it's like you got to get this guy on air, and it's one of the parents that stopped me and talked to me, and I graduated with Dean, and he's not one to pull punches, and he was just very excited. I get Kip too. I'll talk to him. I was like, oh, okay. He wanted to come in here tonight.
Yes.
He has stuff going on. He's part of our Halloween event we got coming up, and man, he's fired up. So, one thing I want to mention, you had talked about coming up on August 22nd. Sunrise, Channel 13 is going to do that again. High school sports again. Winner of the Spirit Award from last year was Martinsville High School. So they're back. It's going to be 6:25 in the morning. Am I correct in saying that?
That's correct. So Channel 13 and their team of sports broadcasters will be down to opening night is that day. And so to kick off the season, Channel 13 will be at Cider Woods Field. First thing before school, it's a community event. We want everybody to come out. We'll have cheerleaders and players and coaches and the band, and they'll be out there and generating that artesian pride at 6:30, 6:45 a.m. We might give some free food away.
You got coffee, I'll be there.
I think Mr. Bell is our biggest cheerleader. Definitely he'll be out there rooting and getting everybody fired up. But no, it's a really good thing, and it shows the community strength. Us winning the Spirit Award last year. That's an award that it's they go to all over the central Indiana trying to figure out who should win this, and we did very well last year. And Jennifer Cheatham, and there's a bunch of others behind the scene.
What a phenomenal job the cheerleaders are. She's
unbelievable!
I've had them on. I'm getting them in back here. They just won a small school championship at the state
fair on Saturday.
Yeah,
they do a tremendous job and have done a tremendous job for a long time. And talk about program breeding success. The kids want to be a part of that program, and so she's outstanding, and we're very fortunate to have her.
September 6th at the Martinsville Country Club, you guys have the basketball golf outing, correct?
Yes.
You need sponsors, you need teams, the whole 9 yards for that.
Yeah, sponsors, teams, that'd be fantastic. We're, the biggest thing we want to, kind of bring everybody together, as we're heading into the basketball season, bring back alumni, bring businesses, people that want to be a part of it. And that way they can kind of just be a part of Martinsville basketball. And also, since I'm new, it's just a great way to get to know everybody that's close to the program. And so hopefully we're going to have a big turnout and see a lot of people there.
Well, don't put it on a Friday afternoon when it's 95 degrees out like Duggar does every year, I swear. I tell him, you pick the hottest day of the year every year. An old guy like me goes out there and just melts on them greens. But hopefully it won't be 95 degrees on September 6th. But
the one thing about the golf outing over the years is we have seen players from multiple decades there represented, and maybe from the 60s and 70s. Really? And, Jerry Seasteen would come out and Sam Alford would be there. And then, and then you could go back and you find players from the 90s, and you can find players from 10 years ago. And, like Coach said, it's a way to bring everybody together and give them a chance to meet Coach.
No, you don't have to be a basketball alum.
No.
Any team.
No.
Yeah.
So, but it's, if you have a passion about basketball and you want to give back to the program a little bit, it's a way to do that and get involved, but also to meet Coach and help them get ready.
The program, too.
And Coach... in the past, those monies have gone back to the program, Little Arties, travel team, scholarships. So, it goes to a lot of things.
September 6th, that is at the Country Club. How can they sign up? Is going through who you sending them through? Is there a link or is there a contact? Call the school?
Call the school. You can call the athletic office or ask for Coach Williams. And that word will get out.
Okay. So I want to try to help out on that as much as we can. Not guaranteeing a team because we got, like I said, on the 9th, we've got an event. I don't know if I can cut out work 2 days in a row on that, but we'll see what we can do. Well, gentlemen, it was an honor to have you in here, sir, and it's always my pleasure to have you in here.
It's great to be here. Anytime you need me to come back, I love talking sports, high school sports, Martinsville High School.
I'll tell you what, if we can get... Hello, Bill. If we can get not Collier, no. I see enough of him. I seen enough of him down the event last night. If we can get Spina and Duggar in here and just have a sports talk, just 1 week. I don't care if it's a 4-hour show. Just let it out. Let's see who knows the most here. So.
Well, you line it up.
A lot of BS, I'm sure.
You line it up, and they'll be here.
Oh, I would love to. I'll say something to Duggar. I'll text him here in a little bit, but. I love the direction our school's going and the program's going, and I think it's going to be a winning deal for everybody. So
it's a lot of work, Kevin, and I mean there's more work to be done, but it's a.
You didn't have gray hair up until last year.
Well, I had hair too.
See what you got to look forward to.
Oh yeah.
I don't coach. I'm 58. What's it tell you?
He's got more hair than I do.
Mine's gonna go.
But it's a lot of work, and it's it's a work of passion, and it's about process and progress, and how you move forward with it. You always want to, that's the one thing I think parents and athletes sometimes there's joy in the process. There's joy in the work. We always judge ourselves on the scoreboard.
Yep.
We always judge ourselves or how good we are on the wins and losses on Friday or a Tuesday. But there's joy and in the work itself. And if you can engage yourself in the process and in the work, then when you can put your head on a pillow at night and feel pretty good about what you're doing.
Right.
But if you're always consumed with the wins and losses, then that's going to drive you crazy. But if you consume yourself with the work itself and how kids are how they're progressing and moving, improving and moving on, then there's value to that. And sometimes we lose sight of that.
Desi done great talk tonight, Gartesians. Call your chins.
Tell him it's back.
It's back. I will tell you this, and you talk about, I coached basketball 2 years when my kids were younger. And I had one that I still think should have went and played basketball, was Logan. At that point in time, she's the quickest kid in town, and she was one of the taller and stronger ones. And I've never seen a kid jump for a rebound in 5th grade, but she did. And we would do sprints in practice. She's half court ahead of everybody. And I finally made her start learning to dribble at that speed. And I would make her carry the ball first and then dribble. She couldn't, just at that age, she wasn't coordinated enough. But I always told her she would get a rebound and then panic because she didn't want to dribble, because she was afraid to start flying with it. I said, Logan, get it out of your mind, catch a rebound, put it on the floor and go. You're going to beat everybody on the court regardless. Lay it up and in. Last game of the year, she jumps up, gets a rebound, 5th grade, puts it on the court, and I mean, it's like a video game. Even, I think it was Rob and Joe, my nephew's like, he's watching her play basketball is like a video game. She's flying, and she about threw the damn thing through the backboard when she got down there. But she got to half court and looked at me and smiled, and I was like,
You're doing it.
You can do it all along. And I know you guys go through that every day, and that's when it doesn't matter what that scoreboard says at the end of the day. It's you're teaching these kids the right way, and that's what these fans want, and I know you're going to bring it this year. So, and over the next coming years, like you said, you're not going to go 33-0 and win the NCAA title in 1 year. It just doesn't happen. There's a lot of talent. I was just looking at the polls in football. There's so many tough games in football. I couldn't imagine in basketball. It's even much more. And you're in some decent tournaments already coming up, but to be the man, you got to beat the man, And Ric Flair once said that, I believe. So,
well, and we're in such a tough league.
Yeah.
And because of Martinsville tradition and what other schools think about us in terms of competition, there are some people that just will not play us.
Right.
And so when we're looking at, who do we play and who's interested in playing, there are certain schools that will not connect. And then so that kind of leaves us to, who is available. But our conference has gotten so much better in the last 10 to 12 years as a whole. Plainfield's gotten better overall. Franklin's gotten better overall. Greenwood's improved, and so you can kind of go down the list. Whiteland's growing like crazy.
Whiteland's talented.
And so, our whole conference, and then you add in, just sprinkle in a Columbus North, and then sprinkle in a Bloomington South, and sprinkle in maybe a Terre Haute school, and all of a sudden your schedule is tough, and you got to bring it every night. Yeah. And I can remember, we were in Conference Indiana several years ago, and we were playing Northview in the basketball sectional, and they were like 19-1 or something like that, and they had a young kid named Logan Whitman who played at Indiana State. And short of it is, we had so much confidence because we felt like they hadn't played the competition that we had, and we proceeded to beat them. Yeah. But the season had prepared us. That was that journey. That was that process. And that's what we talk to coaches a lot about, is daily improvement, having practice plans, get better every day. And so when you see that growth, then you have a chance.
Is there anything better in all of high school, maybe even for high school for sure, sports, than sectional basketball? I mean...
Yeah, I think it's the most fun environment you can get in. Packed gyms, fans going nuts, and you get upsets going. That tournament time is special. You got one game, anything can happen. And you know, you get a team that catches lightning in a bottle there, and man, there's nothing better than sectional basketball and just tournament basketball in the state of Indiana.
Right. Love it. Love it. Looking forward to it, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for chiming in tonight, everybody, but maybe Collier. I'm going to bar him. I need to get him in here because that's one of the funnier. He played a little bit of everything. I don't think he was as good as he thought he was. But
It'd be a 4-hour show for you, so just be prepared.
I was trying to get away from him last night, but guys, I appreciate it. Looking forward to season, and as we get closer, we'll get back a hold of you getting in here. Maybe get the kids in here too. That'd be fun. We'll have some of the football kids in here when they start up. I talked to a few of them the other day, and I want to get the basketball team in here, and I got to get the girls volleyball team in here. I want to try to get all the winter sports, cover as much as we can, in here as much, and if hit and miss out there. So I want to try to spread the love this year as much as we can. So, Coach, very nice to meet you, and good luck to you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
And welcome to Martinsville and being an Artesian. And we still fly that flag with pride up here, so pride. So
no, I appreciate you having me, and like I said, you know, I'm pumped to be here and excited to get going.
Now, I got to ask before we go: have you played the country club?
Oh, I grew up playing it, so.
Oh, so you know it.
Oh yeah, Dad loves that course. So
it got a little tree damage from the wind, but in my opinion, I'm no golfer, but I mean, I've traveled and played with my buddies that play, and they just laugh at me. But that's one of the most beautiful courses in the state of Indiana. And Sam told us he planted every tree on that thing at one point in time. I love Foxcliff. Doug's done some amazing stuff out there, and that's a beautiful course. But man, that's home to me, right down the road. So maybe might see me out there at that outing, but don't watch me play. That's all I gotta say. So, what's up, Carl? Guys, got to run. Love you guys. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Follow Artesian Basketball. Support the team. Go out to the golf outing. Get involved. They need sponsors. Yeah, that guy right there is the coach of the national qualifying Morgan County Bass Masters high school level. Carl out of Monrovia. They just had 2 kids go to this national finals in Georgia. So we got all sorts of good coaches in here tonight. All right, guys. Tomorrow's a big day, isn't it?
First day of school. This is number 54 or something like that. 55 for me.
Yay! I'm gonna go post my Billy Madison back to school thing here in a minute. So, love you guys. Have a great week at school. I feel bad for you. Love you guys. Bye.